All right, good afternoon. This morning, the Security Council adopted a presidential statement on the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the statement, the Council demands safe and unhindered access to humanitarian and medical personnel, highlights the need for a comprehensive and community-based approach, and emphasizes the importance of strengthening international support and engagement. Full statement is online. And currently, and for the rest of the day, the Security Council will be meeting in an open debate on children in armed conflict. In her remarks, Virginia Gamba, the Secretary General's special representative, highlighted that it has been 20 years since the Council placed this issue on its agenda, and in 10 years, the Resolution 1882 made killing and maiming and sexual violence against children triggers for the accountability of the tools devised by the Council. Gamba noted the improvements in the protection of children last year, but as she mentioned in this room earlier this week, the UN once again verified an increase in the number of children killed and maimed in conflict. The Special Representative called on the Security Council to support engagement and prevent violations against children and to ensure commitments taken by parties to conflict actually mean something. The UNICEF's executive director, Henrietta Fore, also pointed out in her remarks that half of last year's verified violations involved the killing and maiming of children. We must do better, she told members of the Council. She also called for additional support for the reintegration of former child soldiers to meet mental health needs of children impacted by armed conflict. And we were asked earlier, and I wanted to say in answer to questions about the situation in Mozambique, that the Secretary General takes note of the signing of a cessation of hostilities agreement by President Filipe Nyusi of Mozambique and opposition leader of Renamo, Osufo Momade. This is a step towards signing a definitive peace agreement next week. The United Nations stands ready to support the people of Mozambique in the implementation of the agreement and in advancing peace, reconciliation, and development. And on Syria, we can say that we welcome last night's announcement of a ceasefire in the northwest of the country. According to the Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, no airstrikes have been reported since midnight, but there are reports of artillery shelling in northern Hama. The pause comes after 3 months of intense hostilities that have resulted in close to 500 civilians killed and the displacement of more than 440,000 people. The UN reminds all parties to the conflict and those who have influence over them of their obligations to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure and the principles of distinction and proportionality enshrined in international humanitarian law. And you saw last night, yesterday morning, before the Secretary General stakeout, we issued a statement on the establishment of a UN Board of Inquiry in northwest Syria. And also yesterday afternoon, we announced that the Secretary General is appointing Melissa Fleming of the United States as the next Undersecretary General for Global Communications, and we welcome her very much. She succeeds Alison Smale of the United Kingdom, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her commitment and dedicated service to the organization. And earlier in the day, we also had announced the appointment of Christian Saunders of the United Kingdom as Acting Deputy Commissioner General for UNRWA. In UNRWA. Voila. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steph. Is the SG considering, or will he consider, taking action or a stronger position to prevent that there is not a new arms race around the world, especially following the withdrawal of the U.S. of the INF?
You know, I would refer you to what the Secretary General talked about very explicitly yesterday, his great and deep concern about the passing of the INF treaty, the risks of a new arms race, and the walking back, basically, of commitments and engagements that had been taken. And I do expect a more formal statement on the INF a bit later today. James.
Thanks, Steph, and happy Friday.
There's no such thing as a bad Friday, unless you have to work on Saturday. Yeah.
Yesterday, you guys announced the Board of Inquiry into Idlib, northwest Syria, the hospitals and so on. We had the SG talking about it yesterday. He talked about the inquiry a little bit. He said it was going to be objective, important. And then at the end of his comments, he said something interesting. He said that the inquiry is, quote, not to prove anything, but to simply say what the truth is. And I know I'm going into granular detail here, but when he said not to prove anything, what did he mean?
No, I think what the Secretary General underscored, and he was answering a question related to statements having been made by some member states criticizing his decision, and he was basically saying that the Board of Inquiry will do its work in an impartial way and uncover the truth as best it can.
Do we know at this stage if it's going to be one of those reports that assigns blame?
We have right now the process is about putting together the actual membership of the Board of Inquiry and putting together its terms of reference. But you can see that we've done Board of Inquiries before, and you can look back at different models. Yes, Majid.
Stéphane, about the reports of children armed conflict and the process in which the names of the parties put in the index, which is a lot talked about in media. Does the Secretary General or his office approves each one of these names to blame? How's that?
Well,
that
it's
goes
the Secretary General's report, so he stands obviously by every word in the report. It's his report. It is done through the work of his special representative, Virginia Gamba, who works for him on this issue. But the report is his report. And I think, understandably, there's a lot of interest in the list because it's very simple to grasp. But I think I would encourage people to read the narrative of the report, which I think gives much greater depth and detail and perspective on this issue. And, of course, you have what Ms. Gamba said earlier today in the Security Council. Thank you. All right, one last question of the week.
Thank you. Please, I just wanted to ask, North Korea launched its third test yesterday. Mm-hmm. Does Secretary General has anything extra to say on that? And is he happy the Security Council met yesterday on this topic?
No, we know Security Council met on this topic. Ms. Rosemary DiCarlo briefed Security Council members on his behalf, expressed his concern. And for him, it's clear that this kind of launch just underscores the need for the swift resumption of talks on the denuclearization and other issues relating to the Korean Peninsula. Thank you. Have a good weekend.